This story was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and I wanted to share it on the channel. I work for a company that does contract work exclusively for the U.S. Forest Service, surveying areas for invasive plants. We travel all over the forest in Southern California, even through areas that are off limits to the public. My crew usually consists of 5 or 6 people, the same ones every day, working 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. We sweep through the forest area by area, tracking invasive plants with GPS and removing them. When I first started the job, we came across an abandoned day-use area where some very sketchy activity had clearly taken place. We used to park our vehicle in a turnout across from it to eat lunch. And while we sat there, several cars would drive over the curb to get into the closed-off area. The main driveway was blocked with a heavy metal gate, but people still went in. Some walked their dogs, some took pictures, some had picnics, and others carried things into the area and disappeared for a while. We skipped surveying that place because, according to my boss, no invasive plants had ever been recorded there. Still, it always gave off an unsettling vibe, especially because we constantly saw people dumping things. Eventually, our crew was reassigned to another part of the forest for a few months. We weren't working in that canyon as often, but we still drove past it almost every day, and the same strange activity continued. Cars parked in the shadows, trash piling up, people slipping past the gate. One day, my boss told us we needed to walk the entire 7-mile stretch of road that the day-use area sat on. He asked for volunteers to cover the sides of the road that cut through a narrow canyon only about 500 feet wide. Since the day-use area was on the right side, I volunteered to check it thoroughly with 2 of my coworkers. We carried our usual tools: hose, folding saws, and Pulaskis. I also had my kukri knife on my belt. As we entered the area, I scanned the abandoned sites. There was junk everywhere: refrigerators, rusted storage shelves, shattered glass. Several square holes had been cut into the concrete, perfect 4x4 openings that went deep into the ground. Farther in, I noticed rags scattered on the ground, stained with what looked like dried blood. They were next to a mound of dirt covered with stones, and half of a skateboard was sticking out of the top. A wooden cross stood nearby. I called the others over and read the writing on the skateboard. It marked the grave of something named Diamond. The years were faded, but the burial mound was large, about 3 or 4 feet long. One coworker suggested it might be a pet grave, though it didn't explain the bloody rags. I decided it was best not to dwell on it and kept moving. As we continued, we found far more invasive plants than expected. I read their names out loud while my coworker entered them into the GPS. That's when we noticed a building tucked into a corner of the day-use area. A narrow gap between rocks led to a hidden canyon branching off the main one. We checked our maps, and sure enough, it was an unvisited canyon that could be the source of all the new invasive plants. After taking notes, we went back to inspect the building. It was about half the size of a shipping container, abandoned and silent. The door was cracked open, so I used my hoe to pry it wide. It was pitch black inside. My coworker shone his phone flashlight through the doorway, revealing a disturbing scene. Porn magazines scattered across the floor, pillows and blankets, and children's clothing. I immediately backed away and headed toward the road. My coworkers teased me, but there was no way I was going any farther inside. When I returned to the clearing, I noticed a truck parked in the day-use area. It wasn't one of ours. It had driven over the curb like the others and was tucked away in a secluded corner. I didn't see anyone inside or nearby, so I waited until my coworkers caught up. They assumed the person was hanging out in the old bathroom building near the road and wanted to check it out. I didn't want to be left alone, so I followed them. The building was V-shaped, with men's and women's restrooms on each side and a storage room in the middle. The men's room door had been kicked off its hinges. Inside, they found the same unsettling items: porn magazines, children's clothing, pillows, and blankets. A small hole had been cut into the wall leading into the storage room. They started talking about crawling through it to check the space. I stood outside near the storage room door. While I was there, I heard the doorknob jiggle. At that exact moment, my coworkers came sprinting out of the men's bathroom. One of them grabbed his Pulaski, raised it, and smashed the door handle and the wood surrounding it. About 10 or 15 seconds later, a man suddenly bolted out of the bathroom and ran deeper into the day-use area, toward the first abandoned building we had explored. Here's what happened. One of my coworkers had stuck his head through the cutout hole to look into the storage room. Using his phone flashlight, he illuminated the corner and saw a man crouched there in the darkness. Boxes were lined up on shelves, and blankets and pillows covered the floor. The sight startled him so badly that he panicked and ran. And the hidden man ran too. We radioed a nearby hotshot crew for backup. A few firefighters arrived with a chainsaw, cut through the door, and set up floodlights. The storage room was filled with boxes of child porn magazines and piles of children's clothing. We told them where the man had fled, so they moved to the other building. When they opened it and lit it up, we saw the creepiest part of the entire experience. The building extended deep into the dirt of the hillside. According to their topography maps, there was a bunker connected to it. Nobody was willing to go any deeper into that place. Thank you to the subscriber who sent this terrifying story. If you have a story to share, send it in and it might be featured next.
This story was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and I wanted to share it on the channel. I have had some strange things happen lately, reminding me of an encounter from about 5 years ago. It was spring in Utah, with cold mornings that required a coat, and usually some scraping on the car windows before leaving. I lived in a remote community next to railroad tracks that led to oil refineries. It was not a busy area and had very little housing, though it has since grown into a bustling community. One Friday morning around 9:30, I was on my way to work when my usual route was blocked due to an accident. I took the quieter, longer route through the industrial park east of my house. I passed the only gas station on the way in and continued through the industrial park, which was quiet except for diesel trucks and the rare car like mine. As I came over a small hill and crossed a set of train tracks, I saw a car pulled over with its hood up. A man stood next to the driver's side door, watching me as I came over the hill. The car was a copper-colored two-door sports car from the late 70s or early 80s, probably a Nissan. I am usually pretty good with cars, but this guy distracted me. He looked like he had walked straight out of the late 70s. Blue jeans, white shirt collar showing above his coat, tan work boots, and a dark tan 70s-style leather coat with wool at the collar. He had a thick, dark mustache and a haircut straight out of Saturday Night Fever. He was a bigger guy in his mid-40s, maybe a little over 6 feet tall, with a bit of a gut but not out of shape. His hands were in his pockets, feet planted firmly, and his back straight, like he was standing at parade rest. As soon as I saw him, I slowed down, planning to pull over and help. But the entire time, he stared at me with a flat expression. No nod, no wave, no sign he wanted assistance. He did not move at all. His stare was so unsettling that instead of stopping like I normally would, I drove past him and sped up. In the mirror, I saw him turn his head slightly to watch me leave, then turn back to stare west over the tracks, as if waiting for the next car. I felt guilty for not helping, but when I told my boss and close friend about it, he said the story creeped him out and told me I was smart to trust my instincts. On my way home that night, I took the same road to see if he was still there. His car was gone, which made me feel better. At least he had gotten help. The next morning, a Saturday, I headed to work around the same time. I always took the long route on weekends since there was no traffic. The industrial park was always a ghost town on weekends and evenings. The night before, I had driven through at low speed for 15 minutes without seeing a single car. As I climbed the same hill, I saw him again. Same man, same car, same spot, hood up, standing next to the door. If he had not creeped me out the day before, I might not have noticed how identical the scene was. It was as if he had never moved since the previous morning. This time, he reacted. As soon as he saw me, he pulled one hand out of his pocket and tried to wave me down. He did not move his feet, and he shouted something I could not hear. I sped up. He heard my little Toyota rev, and I swear he lifted both hands and stepped as if to block the road. His face never changed. It was the same blank stare and half frown. He began to step into my lane, and I swerved to avoid him. As soon as I passed him, I checked my mirror. Just like the day before, he simply stepped back to his car and turned west, as if nothing had happened. I never saw him again after that, but I called my local police. I personally know several officers, including one who lives near me. A few things bothered me. The day before, the gas station would have been open, and even without a phone, he would have had to pass it to reach that spot. You couldn't miss it. There was no reason for him to be stranded there. And everything was the exact same. The car, the open hood, the clothing, even the way he stood waiting for a car to crest the hill where he was hard to see until the last moment. Since I knew the car had not been left overnight, something felt wrong, very wrong. The dead look on his face while trying to wave me down was the most unsettling part. He looked like he knew the motions, but not the emotion behind them. As soon as I passed him, he turned back to staring west again, as if nothing had happened. I later asked one of my cop friends if they ever found him, but they had no report of anyone in that area. Another officer checked the road and found nothing. My friend thanks me for calling it in and told me I did the right thing by trusting my instincts. If a stranded motorist seems off, call the police and they'll handle it. I never saw the man again, and I hope I never do. Whatever he was doing out there, I'm certain he was not just dealing with a broken down car. And of all the creepy things I've seen in my life, that is the one that still unsettles me the most. Thank you to the subscriber who sent this terrifying story. If you have a story to share, send it in and it might be featured next.